When Vesemir, Witcher of the Wolf School, was a young lad, he was like any Witcher. A strapping lad who liked to sleep around a bit now and again. One such conquest was the Countess Mignol from Oxenfurt. They had exchanged love letters and slept together whenever they thought they had a spare moment. Unfortunately for him, he'd also had to escape through the window once because the girl's father had hurt them that night. After that, it was no longer safe to return. Her father had issued an arrest warrant for the Wolf Witcher, and he wasted no time marrying his daughter off to a husband either. And that was that. Eventually, Vesemir would halt his wandering ways and become a fencing trainer in Kaer Morhen, the Witcher's keep in Kedwen. There he would train young Witcher recruits such as Eskel and Geralt, who were up to mischief more often than not. Once they'd started messing with a bumblebee, something Vesemir gave them a proper hiding over. Another time they got their jollies when a rotten plank broke right underneath Vesemir while he was on the privy. But he also told the little Witchers stories all the time of the olden days. Truly, he was a father figure to many young Witchers. In fact, Geralt calls Vesemir his father, his real father. Initially, he even thought that Vesemir had given him his name, Geralt. That wasn't true, of course. It was his mother. But Vesemir did help him pick a last name of sorts. Geralt had tried to decide what name he'd like to be called, but he was having a hard time choosing. When he suggested Geralt Roger Eric du Haut Bellegarde, Vesemir called him a pretentious idiot and told him to just draw sticks with various grand-sounding names instead. But soon, things would take a turn for the worse for Vesemir. The Witcher's keep at Kaer Morhen would be attacked by a bloodthirsty mob, killing everyone who was present at the keep during this time, except for Vesemir. He alone survived among the corpses. Every Witcher and every mage in the keep had been slaughtered, taking the secrets of Witcher creation with them. Kaer Morhen, that's where the likes of me were produced. It's not done anymore. No one lives in Kaer Morhen now. No one but Vesemir. Who's Vesemir? My father. Why are you so surprised? What's so strange about it? Everyone's got a father, and mine is Vesemir. And so what if he's not my real father? I didn't know him, or my mother. I don't even know if they're still alive, and I don't much care. Now, Vesemir remained alone at the keep, no longer on the path. When other Witchers return to Kaer Morhen to winter there, they will always find him too. So it was that he got to know the various friends of Witchers well enough too, like Triss Merigold. When she came to Kaer Morhen for Ciri's sake, he greeted her like an old friend. Perhaps a bit too friendly at times, because he also put his hand on her butt and asks for a kiss when they greet one another. Which is extra strange because Triss calls him grandfather and guessed that he might even be older than the castle itself. Triss mocks his behavior, which she calls childlike, and threatens to set his beard on fire. Strange behavior aside, Vesemir did truly care, not only for the Witchers, but their guests as well. When Ciri came to Kaer Morhen, Vesemir fashioned her a terribly ill-fitting outfit that Triss was forced to fix later on, making Vesemir cough uncomfortably when she brought it up at all. He did that a lot, coughing uncomfortably. He also commissioned a sword for little Ciri while she was at Kaer Morhen, one adjusted just right for a girl her size. He taught her about monsters and potions and all manner of otherworldly stuff, instilling the ancient wisdoms of when he was young, which he insisted was a better, more logical, more honest, and healthier time anyway. Wisdoms like, where there's life, there's hope. Or his emphasis on delaying things when all seemed lost. When they're about to hang you, he said, ask for a glass of water. You never know what might happen before they bring it. So it isn't strange that Ciri started calling Vesemir Uncle.
I can do that. Rather you not make a mess of my shelves. Just keep an eye on Uma.
Yes, Uncle Vesemir.
You might believe, knowing all this, that Vesemir was an authoritative figure amongst the Witcher caste, and that's a resounding yes and no. Vesemir did seem to have some say in matters, it seemed, as when Geralt comes face to face with Brehen, a Cat's-School Witcher, Brehen tells him that Vesemir had condemned him to death for a massacre he carried out a while ago. Geralt states that can't be a sentence Vesemir truly passed, because Witchers don't fight other Witchers, they never cross swords, indicating that yes, Vesemir could pass sentences, just not this one. Likely because he was, as far as we know, the oldest Witcher alive, and he had a tendency for acting as the voice of reason. Having said that, when it comes to more light-hearted topics, his fellow Witchers don't often seem to take him seriously. Perhaps because he was terrible at hiding any sort of emotions, although that goes both ways. When Geralt got robbed once, he wagered that Vesemir would mock him mercilessly had he heard of it. When the games take place, Vesemir remained in Kaer Morhen as always, the rock every Witcher could rely on when they came home. In Witcher 1, he sends the Witchers out to every corner of the world to try and find their stolen Witcher secrets. In The Witcher 3, however, his role is much larger. Initially, he aids Geralt in his attempts to find Yennefer of Vengerberg, taking them both through the countryside until a rather sordid bar fight involving the two Witchers ends in the sudden arrival of the sorceress out of nowhere. She invites Geralt to meet Emeava Emrys, something Vesemir isn't entirely interested in. So, he returns to Kaer Morhen, having done what he'd set out to do. When Ciri finally finds her way back to Kaer Morhen, and the group decides to face the Wild Hunt head-on, Vesemir is taken hostage by one of the NL, Imlerith. The leader of the Wild Hunt, Eredin, gives Ciri a choice: come with him, or Vesemir dies. Ciri, not willing to let Vesemir die for her, drops her sword and gives up. But Vesemir was not about to let her. As she walked towards Eredin, Vesemir yelled that he forbade it, but when she didn't listen, he grabbed a dagger from his side and stabbed Imlerith, causing the NL to break his neck.
I forbid you! You always were an unruly child. I adored that about you. Now fly!
Ciri exploded in elder blood rage, but it didn't matter. Vesemir was dead. They had a small funeral for the man who had been their father for so long, burning him on a pyre near Kaer Morhen. When Vesemir had heard of his beloved Countess Mignol, he had thought he might visit her after all this was over, but that was never meant to be. Now, all the Countess had to remember the old wolf by was the armor he had left behind all those years ago, and she would treasure it always.
I'm sure you're not surprised, but we're not doing skits at the end cards today either. I am so sorry. My Patreons are getting titles today. I hope you appreciate those too. Walguy the Illustrious, Robertson the Enlightened, Lochmoin the Fierce, MJ Coolstar the Impressive, Septic the Cattist, Mike Zweers the Unrelenting, Adrian Packle the Impeccable, Ray the Fortuitous, Freeman the Wise,